Hi friends and welcome back. It's Mrs. Vincent, and on Tuesday during your kind of classwork homework time you got to listen to chapter 3 of this story, our A to Z mystery story, The School Skeleton, and we left off with a little bit of a cliffhanger where we had a new clue and the children were working to document, so draw pictures of a foot tread that they had found, like a footprint that they had found left behind at the scene of the crime. And Mrs. Waters, who's feeling kind of a little bit flustered, she's feeling like she's always losing something. She pointed to the shoe footprint and said that that footprint is twice as big as her feet. So we're trying to enlist the help of the school secretary who gets to see everyone come into the building every single day, and she notices what they're wearing, what the teachers, what the kids are wearing. So they're going to try and enlist her help. So here we are starting off with chapter 4. Again, no real picture for right now. As the kids walked home, Josh studied his drawing of the left footprint. "How can we find the guy who wears this sneaker?" he asked. "It could be a woman," Ruth Rose said. Josh turned and grinned. "What about Mrs. Eagle?" he said. "Maybe she stole Mr. Bones." Ruth Rose laughed. "No, her feet look as small as my mom," she said. "My mom wears size 6. "Let's go to my house and make a list of all the grown-ups at the school," Dink suggested. "Then we can figure out how to check their shoes." "Why don't we go to your house and make a snack?" Josh asked. "How about a turkey sandwich and apple pie with vanilla ice cream on top?" "How about guinea pig food?" Dink said. In his kitchen, Dink found a plate of cookies and a note from his mom saying that she was shopping. The kids walked up to Dink's room, with cookies and Josh's drawing. While she wrote, Dink handed Ruth Rose a pad. While she wrote, Dink went to his dad's closet and found a pair of his sneakers. On the bottom, he found a circle with size 10 stamped inside. Then he got a ruler and measured the sneaker. It was 11 inches long, the same as the footprint they had found in Miss Shotsky's office. So they're using his dad's shoe as a little bit of a guide because they can see the number 10 on the bottom of the shoe. Sometimes on your shoes, there's a number printed on the bottom. That is the shoe size. So when they measured it, it ended up being the same size as the footprint they found at school. So they're using his dad's shoes to help them out. "Guys, I think the skeleton snatcher wears a size 10, he said. "I'll bet a lot of the male teachers wear that size," Josh said. Ruth Rose showed them her list. "I got 13 people, she said. "Yikes. Did you count Mr. Dillon and Mr. Nieder?" Dink asked. Ruth Rose nodded. "Yep, all the adults who work at the school." "We can cross off 5 names, Josh said. Mrs. Eagle, Mrs. Waters, and Miss Shotsky all have smaller feet. And Mr. Dillon was wearing loafers today." Remember, loafers are kind of a dressier, fancy shoe, not the same impression as the tennis shoe that they're thinking. "Who's the 5th, Dink said. "The custodian, Mr. Nieder," Josh said. "Why cross him off?" Ruth Rose asked. "He wears sneakers all the time." Josh laughed. "But they're the biggest sneakers I've ever seen. I think he wears about size 13. Ruth Rose put an X in front of the names of the 5 people Josh had mentioned. Dink looked at the 8 remaining names. 4 women and 4 men, he said, dropping a hunk of cookie into his guinea pig's cage. Do you think one of them took the skeleton?" "I'm wondering. I didn't know that's what guinea pigs ate. Chocolate chip cookies." "One way to find out," Josh said. "Check their shoes against my drawing." "Well, how do we do that?" Dink asked. "Just tell them about the footprint we found. Then ask them if we can measure their feet and check the treads of their sneakers." "There's one problem," Ruth Rose said. "If one of the teachers did take the skeleton, he won't let us measure his feet." It's kind of like admitting you're guilty. "Then we'll know he's the guilty one," Josh said. "But what if 2 teachers say no?" Dink asked. "Then we still wouldn't know which one did it. But at least we'd have narrowed it down to 2. Remember, their list has a lot more on it right now. Ruth Rose said. Then we could figure out what to do next. We'd better decide, Josh said. Every kid at school wants to win those aquarium tickets. But we're the only ones who know about the footprint, Ruth Rose said. We've got a head start. Not for long, Josh said. Miss Shotsky and Mr. Nieder saw the footprint too, and I showed the drawing to Mrs. Waters and Mr. Dillon. Pretty soon, the whole school will know. Okay, let's talk to those 8 teachers tomorrow, Dink said. We could put notes in their mailboxes, Ruth Rose suggested. Great idea, Dink said. He sat at his computer and Josh and Ruth Rose gave him suggestions. This is what they came up with. So there's the kids sitting at their computer. It's a very old-fashioned looking computer. Many of us use laptops and tablets nowadays, but this is a desktop computer. And this is the letter that they come up with. So it says, Dear blank. And that will be there where they will add the name of whoever they're going to address it to, the people left on their list. We have a clue to the mystery of the missing skeleton. May we talk to you today? Please check yes or no and put this in Mrs. Eagle's mailbox. Thank you. Signed, Dink Duncan, Josh Pinto, and Ruth Rose Hathaway. So again, they have left lines for them to check yes or no in order to meet with them to talk about this mystery shoe print. Dink printed 8 copies using Ruth Rose's list of names. The kids addressed a letter to each person on the list. That should do it, Dink said. When they were finished, we'll ask Mrs. Waters to put them in the mailboxes tomorrow morning. And by the afternoon, our class will have tickets to the aquarium. Thinking very positively. Josh said, grinning at his friends. Don't get your hopes up yet, Ruth Rose said. Why not? If we find the right shoe, we find the person who took Mr. Bones, right? So we win the tickets, right? Ruth Rose shook her head. Wrong. We have to find the skeleton to win the tickets, she said. While we're running around measuring people's feet, some other kid might find Mr. Bones. And that is where I'm going to leave you for today. Not a huge cliffhanger, but again, good readers are always making predictions. What do you think is going to happen once they put these letters into each of the teachers' mailboxes? Again, they're kind of being accused of taking something, of stealing Mr. Bones. So people might not always respond that well to it. So while the kids mean well, they're trying to find out who took Mr. Bones. Someone might not be as open to that kind of being questioned and being asked to show their shoes. So we'll see how some of these people respond to this note and whether teachers actually agree to have their footprints checked out. Until next time, friends. Bye-bye.